Hey, TV Run, Coach Alexa here, coach for Reading, South Oxfordshire and online. I thought I'd do a little bit of a series on feet. I feel like feet are underappreciated. We do, we talk a lot about our cardiovascular system as runners. We maybe, focus a bit on strengthening our leg muscles in the gym. And, we talk about, injuries in various different places. But I think feet are, under discussed and underrepresented. And normally we think of them perhaps when they start causing pain or having problems. So I'm going to start off this series talking about some of those and kicking off with a little bit about blisters. So nothing worse than blisters really, whether we're walking or running or just going about our day-to-day life. I had a very lengthy process of wearing in a beautiful new pair of Doc Martens a few years ago that have only just got to the really nicely beautiful comfortable stage because they take a lot of wearing in, and oh my goodness, my poor feet paid the price even with the double sock strategy, and it really hurts, and it also alters our gait a little bit. We naturally alter our gait when we've got blisters or areas that are rubbing that are turning into blisters. Our body is clever, it will naturally alter our gait to try and avoid that pain, and that comes with its own potential repercussions when we're running, particularly if we're continuing to run longer distances with those sore or blistered areas. So do a bit of a recap of just some of the key things that we can do to avoid blisters. Now, number one is good shoe choice. I've done videos before on this, but just a brief recap. Shoes that fit well. So lots of different manufacturers have different template shoes, different like feet templates for their shoes. So my feet are quite long and narrow, and so there are certain brands of shoe like Nike, for example, that just don't work for me at all because they're built around a slightly wider standard shape foot. So finding shoes that fit you well, that are snug but not tight around the heel and the arch, have plenty of room for the toes to expand and lengthen when we land, because that is what we do when our arches flatten on landing. Will really help. If your shoes are kind of banging into the sides or the ends of the shoes, that might cause toenail issues and blister related issues. And looking after keeping an eye on the quality and the deterioration of the innards of your shoes. We're often looking at the soles as runners for signs of wear, but looking at the insides, bobbling or wear on the kind of inner fabric can be a bit of a recipe for blister sadness as well. And socks make a huge difference to us as runners. So again, finding socks that fit snugly, that aren't going to kind of rumple up, avoiding cotton ones like we do with a lot of our gear, because it gets a bit kind of saggy and saturated when you get sweaty or when you're running out in the rain. So wet cotton is a bit of a recipe for blister disaster. You can get socks that either have built-in double layer systems so that any friction between your foot and the shoe or your foot and the sock is kind of in between sock and sock as opposed to between foot and sock. And good socks do act like that little bit of a layer, in between your feet and the shoes, in order to help prevent a little bit of that. Effectively, it's kind of rubbing and the friction between your skin and another surface that causes those blisters. Using a little bit of some sort of lubricant on your feet as well can be quite useful. So I sometimes just old school Vaseline or something like Body Glide, if you do get particular hot spots that you don't think are that sort of related to socks or shoe fit. And also bearing in mind that in the summer our feet sweat more, but they also swell up a little bit more in the heat. And the longer you run, for those of you doing longer ultra events, our feet do tend to swell the longer we stay on our feet effectively. So, worth thinking about for very, much longer events, maybe a slightly larger pair of shoes for later on in that event. So there is the whistle sort of stopped tour of how to avoid blisters. I'd be interested to hear your tips and experiences as well, and we'll go off on a little bit of an exploration of the wonderful things that are our feet over the next few videos. Happy running.